I've heard it said that life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you'll get. But before the mystery of existence threatens to overwhelm us, let me put your mind at ease and tell you exactly what you're going to get from today's video. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about metaphors and stories. In particular, the ones we see online from mental health professionals that attempt to explain anxiety and the way our mind works. I'll be asking the question, do they really help us reduce our anxiety, or do they actually have the opposite effect? So welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time, I'm Tim Box. I'm a mind coach, and for more than a decade now, I've been working with people to help them overcome all sorts of emotional and psychological issues, and in particular, helping them get control of anxiety. Now, a few seconds ago, you heard me comparing life to a box of chocolates. That's of course a very well-known metaphor intended to help convey the unknown nature of life and the unpredictability of future events. Now, you've probably heard many mental health professionals online attempt to explain things like anxiety and depression using some form of comparative story or metaphor. I've seen a lot of these myself, and in truth, some I like and some I don't like so much because they seem to have the potential of having the opposite effect to that which was intended. So the other day I got together with my good friend and fellow anxiety therapist Howard Cooper to chat about stories and metaphors. In particular, to ask the question, do metaphors actually help us get control of our anxiety levels, or can they in fact do more harm than good? Right, so Howard, good to see you again, mate. We were talking about certain things that pop up on our social media, certain stories and metaphors that people deliver to us to talk about mental health, all that sort of thing. And well, we were having a discussion about it, and we thought it might be a discussion worth having on camera, as it were, and recording for people to dip into. So I'll throw it straight over to you, and I'll let you kick off.
Yeah, I mean, look, you and I have talked about this a lot in the past, and I think social media can be very useful at times. There's lots of ideas worth spreading. Mm-hmm. But then there's also sometimes these little moments that pop up, which I almost get angry about. I get frustrated about. As a mental health professional, I see stuff that appears, and it's inevitably someone doing some sort of metaphor or story. But I think some that pop up are trite, meaningless, yet because people go, that's how it feels, they then think it's true. And people kind of get then locked into this idea that something's true because they felt understood by it.
Yeah, it felt similar to the comparison we were drawing. The idea of a metaphor, of course, is to take our understanding of something that we understand sort of implicitly. We feel it, we know it, and then transpose that understanding onto something that maybe we don't understand as well, so that we can learn some things about this thing over here from this thing we already know over here. So it has, and this is why we use metaphor a lot when we're dealing with clients, because it can help people understand what's going on with them in their mind. Yeah,
absolutely. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. And the one that first made me angry was the guy who was, or claimed he was, a mental health professional, and he showed he filled up like a thing with cement, like a receptacle of some descript, and then he put some marbles in it and some rocks, and then said, this represents your brain, and this rock or this thing that we're putting in represents trauma.
Right.
Something that happens when you're young. And watch, over time, this cement will set and it becomes hard. And the trauma is now lodged in there. And then it ended. And I was like, sorry?
Yeah.
What?
So well, this is the thing, isn't it? We can understand why we're saying it, because we want people to understand how the stuff we go through shapes the way we think in the future. But then, you know, as we both said, I remember, because we both had it come up on our timeline or whatever it is called, feed, and we're both like, that's a terribly negative idea to give to people, because it completely suggests we're locked in, we can't change. And
nothing I can do about it now.
And it's like the purpose of it was to allow people to understand why they feel a certain way, and maybe explain to people who haven't gone through it why people who have gone through trauma have certain things that are stuck there at the moment. But of course, what it failed to do was then convey the next part of that, which is the good news is you can work on this and you can move on from the trauma, as it were, because that metaphor didn't allow the scope for that next phase.
Right. And also, I think they started with some phrase like "your brain is like cement."
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like as though it sets and it becomes hard and it's unchanging. But actually, no, no. The research shows, neuroscience actually shows that your brain's incredibly flexible. Your
Mm,
brain is always learning and always making patterns, can
mm.
find, and there's neuroplasticity. Our brain can make new connections. We can learn new things. So the idea that someone could watch something can be like, well, I guess I'm screwed then because my brain's like cement. And
Yeah.
it's just once I've learnt it and the trauma's stuck, there's nothing I can do.
Mm.
I don't
But
think that's useful.
I think that's the difference, though, between a metaphor that is designed to be relatable, as in designed to make the person feel heard, and a metaphor
Yes.
that's designed to move us on from where we are and get us to a better place.
I mean, there are just so many. I've seen ones where they break a plate
Mm.
and now you can't put it back together. It can never be put together the same way if you're broken.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Brilliant.
like, all right.
But then this is the
Yeah.
thing. I think when okay, here's for me what I see. Right? First of all, the limitations of a very small amount of time that you get on your social media these days. TikTok, people are scrolling in seconds, so you don't get long to explain your concept. And we've both fallen foul of this in as much as we've got quite a complex idea to convey, but we've got like 60 or 90 seconds to really get it across. Yeah,
it's like give me the entire secret of happiness and success forever.
Yeah.
30 seconds, go.
Go, yeah, do it.
You know.
So we've got that for a start. But the other thing as well, I think, is that so I don't know if you've done this, but I've done this thing where I'm like trying to improve my social media, trying to reach out to more people, get more traction. I want the old viral videos. We all want that, don't we? And my social media experts that I know, they're all saying to me, and they're all showing me channels where mental health people are using visual description. Okay, so there's a lady with a tank of water showing an example of filling the tank of water. This is your stress bucket that's filling up and things like this. And the guy with the cement. I mean, commitment there, actually mixing up a load of cement just to do a 30-second TikTok. I mean, that deserves a little bit of credit at least.
Absolutely.
But it's all these things of we're encouraged because it's not a tremendously visual thing that we do. Here's anxiety. Oh, no, it's not, is it? You know, that kind of thing. So without just showing boring diagrams and having it feel like a 60 or 90-second lecture, the visual stuff is what people want to give. So it's all metaphor. It's all that kind of thing. But I think possibly this is the limitations of people that don't day-to-day work with metaphor, but have transposed what they do to translate it into a TikTok and a social media environment, maybe.
I just think, but it's so easy to get around because I think they can have their cake and eat it. They can.
Nice metaphor. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. You could do the same visual display and just start out by saying, listen, I know if you're struggling with anxiety, it feels really lousy. Sometimes it might feel like this.
Yeah.
The stress is it feels like this, not that it is like this.
I think we've got to remember that just because there's a characteristic to this metaphor that is shared with the way we are presenting this in comparison to mental health doesn't mean that all attributes of this particular metaphor then transpose equally as well. You know, there comes a point with all metaphors where if you extend them far enough, they stop making any freaking sense compared to what you're trying to get the message across for.
Right.
The only purpose of it is to say, here's an idea. And I'm gonna explain this idea by taking something you know well and saying it sort of compares to what's going on here. I think if we can take that, then, you know, to kind of bring us back to the title of this video, do these stories reduce anxiety? Yeah, they can, because in many instances, understanding is the antidote to this stuff. It's learning about what our mind's actually doing when we feel anxious, why it does it, the fact that it's not trying to destroy us, it's trying to help us, stuff like that. All the stuff that you were talking about in terms of, is it real? Is it just a fear? You know, when we understand this stuff better, we start to naturally reduce our anxiety because there's less mystery about what's going on with us. So I kind of totally get why metaphor. I mean, Christ, I use that ship analogy all the time. Anyone that follows my channel, anyone that's ever seen me as
I haven't heard it.
The captain will know the captain and the crew of the ship almost as well as you do, Howard. But
right.
The point being is that it's there because, you know, I don't actually think there are sailors running around in our head. You know what I mean? And I don't actually think we're split into multiple personalities. But it's a nice way of explaining a few things, such as why different parts of us have different motivations. A bit of me wants to do this, but a bit of me feels like it wants to do that. it helps us understand that every part of our mind is working towards positivity, working to solve the problem rather than sink the ship. And it also encourages us to reduce our self-castigation and treat our mind like, hey, these people that we'd really like to get on with and help and assist and work together with. Suddenly, we have a bit more invested in being kind to ourselves. So there's reasons for it. But if you extend it far enough, doesn't make any bloody sense at all. You know what I mean? And it just starts to sound ridiculous as you do it. But it's about conveying meaning, isn't it?
Well, it's about conveying meaning, but also giving people more options of meaning that they can find useful.
Yeah.
And so a good metaphor, I think, or a good story that's going to reduce anxiety is very much one not just feels correct, feels right, and they can identify with, but also offers them practical ways of reframing problems in a more solution-focused direction. And if you only have it just feels right, but it offers me a feeling with, oh, well, what's the point, and doom and gloom, that's not helpful. Equally, if you have something that doesn't feel or no one resonates with, but is just like, for example, once upon a time a magician comes over and just waves a magic wand and fixes you, I reckon any anxiety sufferer is going to go, yeah, but I feel stuck.
Yeah.
And so you've got something that's useful. Someone fixes you.
Yeah.
But you don't have that first piece. It doesn't feel right. So
it doesn't connect with the problem. Yeah.
So you need a story to reduce anxiety is one that I think not just feels true, but also offers a solution. But I think it is also useful to have in the back of everyone's head this idea of, but they are all still stories.
So there we have it. Metaphors can be a great way of conveying valuable understanding that can ultimately help us get control of our anxiety levels. But if the metaphor you stumble across online concerns you more than helps you, it very probably simply means it just isn't for you. It means that this way of thinking about things doesn't resonate with you, and as a result, you can simply disregard it. The fact is, there's a lot of online mental health advice available, and whilst everyone is hopefully trying to be of help, it'd be wrong to think everyone thinks about things in the same way and responds to the same approach. That being said, there are certain channels online I advise avoiding like the plague. We only want to follow channels posting helpful content rather than those posting content that's simply designed to get clicks. I'm going to link to a video at the end where I go through the exact type of content and channels to avoid when looking online for help with mental health and anxiety. But I really hope the way we think about things on this channel is resonating with you and providing you with some useful anxiety solutions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like what I do, and why not subscribe to the channel for weekly mind management tips and anxiety advice. Also, you can now become a member of the channel and receive extra content every week, including video tutorials of my full system for change with extra insights and exclusive live streams. Just hit the join button on the homepage. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.